We will have former WWE superstar Charlie Haas joining us soon, but to start this off, I have my co-host here on the World Class Cast, Jerry Bostic, and there's been a lot of wrestling news this week, including world-class pro wrestling news. But since the fans love hearing about the news, I understand there's been a bunch of WWE releases, some of whom are wrestlers that used to work for you.
Man, I don't know. I'm kind of shocked. I mean, I'm reading this kind of secondhand, so I mean, I hope these are right. I guess WWE just announced they will be releasing Scarlett Boudreaux, Taya Valkyrie, which is very disappointing to me, and Ember Moon. Looks like Oni Lorcan, Hit Row's BFAB. Like now they're really upset me messing with Hit Row. Jesse Kamea. I hope I'm getting some of these names right. Katrina Cortez, Jeet Rama. I don't know. Taya and Ember Moon are the most disappointing to me. But Ember Moon, unless things have changed, lives around the Dallas area, so I know a place that would take her. What's your thoughts on this, Hannibal?
I'm shocked at Taya because there was such a build up for her to come in. Everyone was wondering if she was going to go to AEW or WWE because she was kind of stuck in Impact for a while. And obviously, she's married to John Morrison, I believe.
She
So,
is. I mean, that makes it even that much more shocking to me. And Taya, I mean, she's worked countless shows for me. She's so talented. Like it's just very, very disappointing.
and a bunch of them are actually on the World Class Pro Wrestling YouTube channel that just reached
Oh my God,
8,000
Karrion Kross.
subscribers.
Karrion Kross.
Karrion is released?
I know a place where he can go.
Yeah. I'm shocked
Wow.
at that because honestly, and I've said this since they hired him, he was one of the wrestlers with the biggest upside, and they really
Absolutely.
gave him they started off using him well, but that
Once
new
it's
outfit.
like so many people, when they go to the main roster, people they don't know what to do with them. I mean, it's sad. I mean, that dude has such a tremendous upside. He's one of the most skilled talkers that I've seen in a long time. Looks like Zeta Ramir and Trey Baxter have been released as well. I mean, they just keep on coming. It's crazy, crazy.
Well, the names that stand out to me that I could see world class really benefiting from are Carrion, Scarlett, and Taya, but I see Charlie Haas is here, and you have
Yes,
an
the
announcement to
one and
make about
only.
him, don't you?
Charlie will be indeed joining us for Christmas Star Wars December 11th. We're very excited to have him. I mean, his reputation and his work speaks for itself. Having Charlie automatically makes world class even that much better of a company. We cannot wait. Thank you for joining us tonight, Charlie. We appreciate you.
I appreciate you having me on. Thanks, Hannibal, again. Man, I'm excited. I'm excited about the upcoming, and I am.
We can't hear you.
Oh, we lost your audio for a second.
There we go.
All right. No, man, I'm excited to be. I'm excited, man. I'm excited for this opportunity. I thank you very much. I have unfinished business, and I just want to do it right. You're going to see still an aggressive Charlie Haas in the ring, just minus the cursing and the derogatives.
So, Charlie, I don't know that everybody listening or watching, I don't know that they know about your amateur wrestling career. Why don't you tell them about that? Because to me, that it's always amazing to me whenever people have done things outside of just the pro wrestling world. And I also believe that amateur wrestling leads to one of the easiest transitions. What's your thoughts?
So, I grew up in Oklahoma, and
ditto to Oklahoma.
I was always a professional wrestling fan. That was the big thing. I went into wrestling because I thought I saw it offered in the junior high program, and I thought it was going to be pro wrestling. So I walked in there and there's a wrestling mat. I'm like, "What is this?" And they're like, "I go, where's the ring and the ropes?" And they were laughing. They probably was just some dumb country boy, but it's I took a beating for about 7th grade year. I got my ass kicked so bad that I quit. I tried out for basketball. Well, I'm worse at basketball than I was wrestling, so I went back to wrestling, and I got beat up all the way from 7th grade up to the end of my 9th grade year, and then I started being I was getting bullied, and then I turned it around and I started whipping ass. So and I haven't looked back since. But it took a long time. Like it was just dedication. It's consistency, and consistency is the mark of a champion. And my dad would pay. He would have me do privates with John Smith, who's an Olympic gold medalist, 2-time gold medalist. I'd go over to Central Oklahoma, which was the Division II national champs, and get beat up by Greg Oplotnik and Howard Moore, and then drive up to Oklahoma State, get beat up by Randy Couture and JJ McGrew and Chris Barnes. And it was just, and I did that probably for like a year and a half straight. And finally, it just, they would work with me when they saw that I was committed to it. And they started teaching me, and it was the little things, man. It was the little things they told me, like, little things make a big difference. You can't look for a shortcut. You spend more time looking for a shortcut to get to where you are, you'll never get there because your opportunity will pass you by. So.
Well, you're a very decorated amateur wrestling champion. What all championships have you won doing that?
Yes, sir. States in Oklahoma. Then I was on the junior national team. It was like probably one of the best junior national teams in the history. We have the most points scored up at nationals.
That still stands today.
Is unbelievable. We have more national champions in D1 that are in that picture than anywhere else. Then I went to Notre Dame, and they dropped the program because of Title IX. And that is that you have to have the equal amount of men's scholarship has to equal the same amount as the women's. So instead of adding an extra 83 scholarships, because you got to take into effect football has 83, they decided to cut 83 men's scholarships. So wrestling was at the end, they were on the chopping block. So it sucked. So I ended up, they dropped it there, the Title IX. I left Notre Dame, and Seton Hall gave me a full ride. They were, we're an up and coming team. They had somebody, Joe Burke transferred in from Hunter College, and then Lou Sergio came in. So they were able to keep a bunch of the really good state placers and state winners from New Jersey on that team, because they were all going to Rutgers. And for some reason, Coach Reynoso did a good job in recruiting, and then he recruited me and Wade Rogers, who wrestled for Central Oklahoma. And we went from being we never ranked, never going to nationals, to where we won the Big East, and then we ended up placing 13th in the country as a team, and that's why we got the Big East ring. It's the only time we ever won it.
Oh yeah.
And All-American. So it's just I had a lot of obstacles thrown my way, but I just kept pushing forward. So
was that the same time that Seton Hall was pretty credible at basketball too? Like Terry DeHare, was that around that same time?
With who now?
Terry DeHare, I believe that was his name. He was a legend, I believe, at Seton Hall. I'd have to double check that. I said he was a legend at Seton Hall, best I can recall.
I think he was Terry DeHare. I think he was oh no, wait, from I know exactly. Terry DeHare, Danny Hurley. It was
Danny Hurley, yes.
Danny Hurley, yes. Yeah, another, because they all came from St. Anthony's. The St. Anthony's, and it was Bobby Hurley Sr. Bob Hurley Sr. was the one that coached them. So absolutely. Yeah, we had Danny, we had Terry DeHare, we had Luther Wright.
Luther Wright, man, I forgot all about Luther Wright.
Yeah,
he was a powerhouse down low.
We played Duke in the playoffs, and it was Danny versus Bobby, and it was we got beat, but I mean, it was good until like the last quarter or whatever. But yeah, no, Seton Hall doesn't have a football team, so basketball is king, and the wrestlers are the biggest guys on campus. So
yeah, I think it probably benefited them back then being in the Big East, but since the Big East is no longer a conference, I don't even know where Seton Hall is now.
Well, yeah, the basketball is the Big East. All the Catholic colleges that didn't have football, like Xavier, Georgetown, St. John's, Seton Hall, Sentinel, I think, Davidson. They bought the Big East name, so they're a powerhouse for basketball.
Oh wow, yeah. I mean, a lot of them have very storied basketball programs. Very cool too, that you went on to there after Notre Dame, because I'm pretty sure Notre Dame wasn't going to cut any of their football scholarships for wrestling.
No, not at all. Well, but we're in a great time right now for amateur wrestling, because women's wrestling is going to save save the men's. It's going to save the sport. It really is. There's about 1,300 scholarships offered right now for women's wrestling, and we only have about 1,100 women wrestling. There's like 9 states that actually support it, that have state championships. Texas being one.
Oklahoma too. Did you know
we
that?
have
Oklahoma.
really, we have a really good chance to save it. Clemson University just opened up a women's program starting this year. John Smith announced that it's on the radar. So in about 2 years, you're going to be looking at a women's team at Oklahoma State University. And
That's
so
awesome.
it's a good time. And it's what I love about the sport is that, especially for the women, it gives them a chance to be successful. Maybe they're of bigger stature and they want to play soccer, but they can't be a midfielder or a center. They can't run up and down the field. You go into wrestling, you're going to wrestle somebody at your own weight, your own age. You win a state championship. That state championship can get you a scholarship. The next thing you know, you graduate from college, you got your school paid for. You may be the next CEO or a doctor or a lawyer. But I mean, it just helps. It helps build self-confidence and self-esteem in those girls. So I'm excited for it.
And did you end up at Seton Hall? Did you get a degree as a stockbroker? Is that right?
Yeah. So I was in. Yeah, I know. I'm a nerd. I was. I degree in economics. I graduated with 3.6 in my major, 3.3 overall. And the key to college, anyone listening, because I'm going to be talking about that. Go to all your classes your first year. Doesn't matter what you take, just get the best. I mean, I ended up with a 3.6 after my freshman year. After that, you can coast. I mean, you don't have to worry about catching up and trying to be eligible. Just bust your butt, or just or load up with a bunch of like the Bobo classes or the basic classes, and just get like the highest grade you can your freshman year, and then just coast.
That was my downfall. I missed my classes.
Tutor. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I probably wouldn't have graduated if I didn't have a tutor. And I was lucky that the sports department, gave it to the athletes that were on scholarship. We got that free. But I mean, I would take the notes and go right to the tutor. But yeah, so I ended up graduating, and then I started working for Goldman Sachs. And
wow.
That was an intense interview. There's 21 interviews, and you can't, if one person out of the 21 doesn't like you, you don't get hired. So so I got up to the managing director who made the decision. And he's like, do you know a lot about futures and all that? And I said, yeah. And he's like, okay. He goes, figure this one out. And I was like, okay. He had a piece of paper. He wrote something down. And I'm like, all right. I go, can I borrow your pen? And he looked at me. He goes, and he put it in his pocket. So I had to do it in my head. I did it. And he goes, okay, I'll be right back. And he came back and offered me the job. So.
Man, that's amazing. That's amazing. What about the work you're doing with Allen Schools now? Tell people about that.
All right. So now we're just, so I left Goldman Sachs to wrestle for WWE, and my singles career. I wish it could have been better, but I had a great time as a tag team. Been through a lot of ups and downs, but I started. My brother-in-law and I started a program in Frisco called the Frisco Bombers, and then they moved back to New Jersey, after my dad died a couple years ago. So I started a program with Jerry Best, who's the head coach at Allen High School, and they've just won their 12th straight state title. So what I did is I started a program that's, for my 2 boys who are 11 and 9, and we built such a good program around them. It's scary how talented this group is. We're trying to keep them together. We want to, but we're having even better. It's better than we're like our walking. They're the walking billboard for our success. So wherever the major tournaments we go to all over, they win. People, moving to Texas, and they're like, "Hey, we want to move to Allen. Here you got a great wrestling team." It's like we're not recruiting. It's just they want to, iron sharpens iron. We produced Bo Nichols, who won 3 national titles for Penn State. Just won his first MMA fight. AJ Ferrari just won his first national title up at Oklahoma State. So we're just rock and rolling. We're building this program to where I don't want any of my kids to go through there and be the first class to lose a state title. So our goal is to win a national title. I feel with Russ's grade, they're in 5th, 6th grade. It's about 5 years away, but we could be the first team ever to win a national title that doesn't have a state that supports amateur wrestling, because not one, yes, the Big 12 has amateur wrestling, but it's from the border of Texas, Oklahoma up. Texas doesn't have it.
Wow, that's crazy. You would think Texas would have or you would think they'd have collegiate wrestling. That's crazy.
You think so? Like Texas Tech, Texas A&M, Texas, TCU, Houston, Rice. I mean, they just won't do it. What's going to be interesting, they're saying the Big 12 is breaking up in 2 years, and I guess OU and Texas are going to SEC. Then a rumor has that Oklahoma State may be going to the Big 10. So I know for football it may not be great, but for wrestling, you got Iowa, Penn State, Oklahoma State, Iowa State. It's going to be insane.
So you think wrestling wise, that would be a good move for Oklahoma State to go to the Big 10?
Iron sharpens iron. I don't, they'll get it's just gonna help their recruiting better. They'll be able to wrestle in front of the more of the East Coast, up the Pennsylvania area in Jersey, and they'll be able to get some of those recruits, because a lot of those recruits they're not going past the Pennsylvania line. I mean, New Jersey's going right into PA, Ohio's going to PA. I mean, everyone wants to be at Penn State. That's the place to be.
So did you go from Goldman Sachs to pro wrestling?
Yes, sir, man. I was, I enjoyed it. I thank Goldman Sachs for the opportunity, but they, oh man.
Oh, you're good, man.
Okay, I'm here. I'm sorry. Okay, no, I thank Goldman Sachs for the opportunity. The only problem was that out on the East Coast, it's like you live to work. And I I'm like, man, 13, 14 hours a day. I mean, I was doing a fixed income desk. So on fixed income, you have to deal with a lot of foreign currency. So a lot of those markets, they're about an 6 to 8 hour, 10-hour difference time zone. So I got to wait for those to come in. So a lot of times I would sleep under my desk, have a suit in the gym and locker that we had. And it was just, like I said, I did it for about 5 years. I was doing also the wrestling training and doing all the indies, and there's like no time to sleep. My brother and I were just busting our butt trying to get picked up. Pro wrestling was really hot then, and finally that happened, and I was able to go ahead and give him my resignation and said, I'll see you later. And no hard feelings, but it was a breath of fresh air to leave there.
So were you in CZW before WWE? Is that right?
So we started with Iron Mike Sharp, Canada's
Iron Mike Sharp. Damn, I haven't heard that name in a long time.
He trained me. That's what I went to his school. My brother and I did, and so it was about a 10-month school. And I knew I learned a lot from him because he actually was in the ring working with me. Now he's a big son of a gun, man. I mean, he would put your head back over the rope and he'd give you that big forearm to the chest. I mean, he was stiff and snug, and that's what he really, he knew I was an amateur wrestler. So he's like, look, you got to make it look real. You got to lay it in. So he goes, if they say it hurts, then that's their problem. So went from there, and then we were on the Independence, and it was at the time when the Nitro Wars, the Monday Night Wars were going on, and then ECW was in there. So we were in Jersey, and we started wrestling for a company called Jersey All Pro Wrestling, and they were like where Ring of Honor is now, or it was. I started with Loki, Homicide, Danny Moff, Steve, Amazing Red, the SATs. Kenny Kingston or Kingston, Eddie Kingston, we crossed paths. CM Punk was up and coming, Samoa Joe, and out of that whole group, Russ and I were the first ones to sign. And but we were at the one time we had the Jersey All Pro tag titles and the CZW tag titles, and everybody, and they hated each other. I mean, there'd be like fights and riots, and here we are holding both titles, just watching it. So,
man, that's crazy. That's a crazy amount.
That was when Danzig had it, So I got to thank him for the opportunity, and because we were just a bunch of country redneck college boys from the East Coast, transplants from Oklahoma. But we had fun, man. It was and then we ended up with Jim Kettner. He polished us up. WWF was interested in us. Kevin Kelly said go to Jim Kettner. Jim Kettner said he was done training people. Simon Diamond was his last protege or last person he trained. Then we walked in. He's like, "All right, let's do it." So, I got to thank him for getting us ready, and then we're off to Memphis. And that was a different story there, man. It's that developmental territory was tough, man. It was really tough.
So were you in CZW with Nick Gage?
Yes.
What was he like back then?
He was I it wasn't. I mean, I don't know, man. I think we've had a couple encounters. I mean, I never really went and hung out just because we would after we wrestled. Russ and I would just go back up to North Jersey. But I had no problems in the locker room or anything like that. I mean, as a person, a good person. I mean, there's some people that would, that would really go out and try to, they thought New Jack was the thing to do then, and they would go out and try to wrestle and hurt people like New Jack would, and I just don't know. It was the hardcore was the thing in the end, and we were just like, every time we got into a match with a white beater or with Lotus 1-2-3 or whatever, or Blade, I was like, we knew it was, they're going to ask us to juice or something. So,
yeah, I'll pass. So when you got the call from WWF, did you feel like this was it? Like you made it? Did you guys have that feeling when you got that call?
Yeah, we did, and we were happy, man. We were so happy because I was like, man, this is what we were doing. 5 years, we made it. Well, and then we got down there, and so our first match was with Daniel Bryan and Spanky, Brian Kendrick.
Wow.
It was a hell of a crew, man. We had Mean Street Posse. I think Joey Abs is probably one of the best workers ever. Just never got the chance. Mean Street Posse, Christian York, Joey Matthews, another great tag team from the Indies. Then you had the kids from Shawn Michaels School, then which was Lance Cage, Shooter Schultz, Brian Kendrick, Daniel Bryan. Then you had the manager Jason. I forget, he'd always do the voice imitations. And then we had Eki and Maddie, and that was Roman Reigns' brother and Umaga. And then you had Russ and I, and we had the Ducks. So we had a really good tag team division, and we would go. It was a great experience because it was live on Memphis Power Pro. You would do it from like 10 in the morning to 11. It was live. You messed up, and then you would go from there and you would start doing your spot shows like that night, and then Sunday, then Monday, Tuesday. We're all over Mississippi, Arkansas, and Tennessee. So
who was the promoter in Memphis?
Great experience to go live there. And our first match was against American Dragon and Brian Kendrick. And Russ started the match off, and he got snap-mared, and then Brian just kicked him in the back of the spine. And Russ it switched. Russ, he pushed him. Watch out. It snapped. He got right up out of character, and just started whooping ass. I'm like, all right, well, at least they know we're legit.
So when you guys were in Memphis, was Jerry Jarrett the promoter?
Terry Golden was the promoter at the time.
Okay, I was like, I didn't know if Jerry Jarrett was still doing Memphis.
No, he wasn't there. Terry Golden was there, and Jerry Lawler,
the King. So you guys went from developmental. I mean, I don't really want to touch on your brother passing away, really, but
no, we can do it. I mean, they shut Memphis down because Jerry Lawler and the Cat quit WWF, and right before they quit, they bought WCW. So we had all the stuff from WCW's power plant transferred to Memphis. And we put up the WCW ring and compared to the WWF ring, we're like, whoa. So then they shut us down. And then they kept
was
Steve
WCW a 16 or 18? I can't remember.
What's that?
Was the WCW ring a 16-foot or 18-foot?
18. Well,
for everybody listening, WWE is a
20.
20-foot ring. For everybody that doesn't know, WWE is a 20-foot ring, and WCW was 18.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the bigger the ring, you got to have better footwork, and you got to really know how to maneuver. The smaller the ring, I mean, it's like you really got to keep it tight. You got to watch. You got to make sure when you're throwing a comeback, you got to bump him, but you got to just stay. You got to take the step out of the middle so you can bump and come back up. It's a lot to it, but yes, they shut it down, and we end up. They kept Steve Bradley, the Island Boys, Eki and Umaga, or Eki and Maddie, Russ and I, Lance Cade, and Lisa Marie Victoria, and they sent her to down to OVW, and they sent us to HWA, Les Thatcher, and that's when it got tough. It was. It was difficult because we get there and we're trying to do the best we can, and WWF sending like Benoit and Angle and Big Show for us to wrestle with them to show them what we've learned, and Les Thatcher's pushing his guys that we're under contract, trying to get them contracts, and I thought it was wrong, And, so we were never showcased like we should have been. And then they brought in so then it got even worse because they brought in WCW and ECW, all the guys that they kept, in the buyouts, and they moved them all down there. And some of them went to OVW. And it was like, I got along with everybody, made some really good friends. Jamie Noble was really one of my good friends, and he went really high up now as an agent in WWF. But it was we got really pushed down. So it was like the Memphis Six that we called ourselves were just barely. I mean, we were lucky if we got promo time, if we were able to be on a spot show or a match. We were begging for we're just like, for someone to acknowledge us, because right now they were concentrating on ECW and WCW. So we figured we were all going to get fired. So then Russ died. And that was the day of my life, man. Really took a turn for the worse. So he passed away, and found him dead, and I miss him, man. I miss him. And people don't know, Team A was supposed to be, they called us up. It was going to be Russ, Kurt, Shelton, and I, as us four. And then the Island Boys were going to go with Rikishi. And God had other plans. So, yeah, so he's, and then right after that, like a month after that, Hugh Morris was doing some new move, a baseball slide off the, he threw me off the ropes, and he hit the ropes on the neutral side or the other side, and he was trying to do a drop toe hold but sliding, and he blew my knee out. So I was like, and I was just like, this is a month after Russ died, and I'm like, I was so lost, because I'm like, they didn't sign Charlie Haas, they signed the Haas brothers, and it was tough because we wanted to. We really, I mean, if you guys go back and watch any of the independent stuff, Russ was the kind of like how Shelton is, but Russ was the gymnast. Flips, backflips, flips over the top rope. He's as big as me, and I was I just did the wrestling and the chaining and the chain wrestling, and I would just and it worked, and we're brothers, and he was he'd get all the girls and throw me on the seconds, but anyways, so. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with sloppy seconds.
Yeah, man. He's like, they'd come up to me and they're like, "Hey, are you Russ Haas's brother?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" I'm like, "Yeah." Can you get him to talk to me? I'm like, "Oh my God." Yeah, whatever. So I mean, I was so pissed, man. It happened so many times. So, so I'm like, all right, whatever. So, I was there to wrestle anyways. But so I mean, that's what the Team Angle was supposed to be, that. And we were, they had planned. They put it on hold. They didn't know what they were going to do. And when I blew my knee out, I was just like, man, I didn't know what to do. But it was probably the best thing for me, because it gave me 6 months to heal, or try to heal, instead of just throwing myself back in. I don't think I ever healed from it. I don't think you ever do. But it was, I came back. I got the best shape of my life, going through therapy, and man, as soon as I get back, they put me with Jason Sugarman, who was a student from Dusty Rhodes' school. And they're like, all right, man, you're going to tag. So we started tagging. And I was like, trying to stay away from what Russ and I would do. But it was a different tag. It was good. And then they broke that. They shut that company down. And so Johnny Ace called me. And I was like, I know, man. I go, you're shutting it down, I heard. I go, yeah. I go, Johnny, I want to thank you, man. I appreciate everything you guys did for me and for my family. It's like, well, good, because we're still doing it. Get your ass down to OVW. I'm like, okay. So I mean, they probably were throwing me a bone with everything that was going on, but man, that's where I met Jim Cornette, and man, he took care of me. He explained to me the whole singles, because I never did singles. I didn't have moves. I didn't have, I had double team moves, tag team moves, and that was something Russ and I were really good at. So man, I was so worried about the moves. I didn't care about. I overlooked to understand what the work was. We've talked about this. That it's. I go in and I watch so many kids today, and it's move after move after move, and they're athletic, man, and they are unbelievable, and they're better than I'll ever be or ever could have been. But they're missing something, and that's the work between it. You don't have to do all that much. And and Arnie Anderson's like, Charlie, slow down, less is more. So when they put Sheldon and I together, man, I was back in my comfort zone. And man, we were with Arn for a year on the road, before the matches, after the matches, 4 days a week. I mean, we lived and died like the Horseman style, and it was it paid off, man. It paid off, and I can't thank him enough. And I was just, I was up at WWE for 12 years, and I had a lot of good coaches or mentors come through there, like Malenko, then the wrestlers I'll get into, but like Steve Kern, Ricky Steamboat, Jerry Briscoe, Jack Lanza, Tony Gurria, Sergeant Slaughter, and then all the greats to work with. So I was I was at a good 12-year run with the developmental, including then WWE, so 12 years together, and I learned a lot. So sorry for rambling, but that's where I'm at.
Oh, you're fine. So, I mean, if Shelton becomes available again, is there still a chance that we might see down the road a world's greatest tag team reunion?
Well, you know what? That's a good question, because we never really broke up. And, every time we've been singles, someone puts us together. So, that might be, but then, I could see this, like, me getting beat down by Blood Hunter or and Moonshine at the same time. And all of a sudden, man, Shelton's music hits and he slides in the ring, man. And he comes in, and as soon as he gets up, I turn and I drop him, and I just start putting the boots to him. So, I mean, that's probably the Charlie Haas should get now. And then
I love that.
Charlie, I got to ask you about that fan incident that happened with you that kind of went viral a few months ago.
Yeah.
What was that all about? What happened there?
Well, I like to tear up signs, and the kids, and they even make like Haas tear up the sign. And people had like a section where they were giving out poster boards and making them right then and there. I'd tear it up and then put it back out. So it was a little girl's sign, and I grabbed it, ripped it up, and just threw it like I always do. The dad's like said, kind of got it in front of my face, he put his hand, pushed me away. So I pushed him back, and then bam, I hit. I mean, it was like that quick. And then Rodney hit him. Boom. And
Rodney came out of nowhere.
If you're not, I'm doing my job. And people were getting hot, but I got to remember that they don't have the security gate, so they didn't have the fencing. So that show was actually pretty interesting, because we put Matt. It was the first time Privilege was together, and Max. I would cut the promo, then he would cut a promo in Spanish, and whatever he would say, the Spanish women would run to the ring and they would start throwing stuff at us. So the whole time we're wrestling throughout the shows on this TV taping, people are hitting the back part, and we had to have Big Fitz come out as like a prospect bodyguard to push people away. I mean, it was getting bad. It was like we were doing our job, man. Kevin Sullivan said, "You're getting that white heat, man."
But that's what wrestling is. Wrestling is driven by heels. It's driven by antagonists. There are no heroes without antagonists.
Right.
I mean, what do you think about the current state of heels in the business?
Well, here's what I have looked into the. I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been doing the independents for. I started on the independents, and and then I'm on it. I retired, came back, but as you get older, you get wiser, and I'm like, I know I can't do all the moves that people do, but one thing I do know is I know how to, I've stayed in shape with the amateur wrestling and wrestling with those guys and training, and it's a very hot room. Hannibal will tell you, he's come down and trained. We have a great facility. But and being up in Oklahoma, we're seeing my friends. It's always competitive. But I was one thing I can do that they aren't doing, that no one's doing, is I'm working body parts, man. I I look at the person I'm gonna wrestle. I'm gonna capitalize on his weakness, and then I'm gonna like Arnie Anderson taught me. He's like, man, you're gonna render that limb useless, and you're gonna beat him with it. He goes, would you go into Walmart and buy a 3-legged table? Hell no. That's what they're gonna look like when they come out. So. That's what I do, man. Legs, arms, ribs, eyeballs. I work the eye on a match, which I don't know why no one else does it. I mean, if you can't see, you can't wrestle. I think I'm brilliant, man. I'm like a genius for wrestling. But I just realized that, man, I don't need the moves. All I need is to get to the point, get right to it. I don't need ups and downs and turns and swerves. I go right to the limb. I attack it. I beat it useless. I make him fight from underneath, and then, and in between that, I'm getting into it with the fans. They want to interact with the matches so bad. I have no problem doing that. I'll walk to the ring. I'll interact with anybody. I'll find the person that hates me the most, man. And if I was the babyface, I would be looking for that person that started with me and then try to, I won't tell them how to do their match, but I would try to befriend them in the match. And, because they start clapping for them, everyone around them is going to clap for them, and it spreads. So that's what Steamboat taught me. But I just do my job where, I will look at the person that I started with me in the ring. And when I put that hold on, I'll look right at him, and I'll even bring him out right in front of him and punch him right in his mouth, drop him, and I'll just look right at him. I go, that's because of you. That's because of you. Yeah, and like they want to hit me so bad. But that's the greatest feeling. It really is. I love it.
You've been in this business a long time, so I mean, ultimately, you're going to get more out of this emotional interaction you're having with these fans than doing moves, anyways, right? I mean, because you're right. That's exactly what our group of fans come for. They come for that interaction. They want that involvement. They want you to make them a part of the show.
Dude, I mean, how I had I'll get the dads and they're like, you're a piece of shit. She ain't shit. I'm like, dude, come in the ring. Just come in the ring. Sign the waiver. I'm going to start carrying waivers. That's my gimmick. I'm going to start carrying waivers. Sign and get.
That's a good idea. December 11th, we'll have a stack of waivers waiting on.
Man. I'll be like, sign the waiver. Anyone's got a mouth, and I am an equal opportunity ass kicker. I will, men, women, age, it don't matter. If they want to do it, I'll whoop that ass. But they are. No,
maybe we
fun.
need Hannibal to sign a waiver, and then you guys can have an amateur match, you versus Hannibal. I'd love to see it.
I've retired from amateur wrestling.
He came in there, and I'm like, how much you weigh? He goes, 265. I go, well, you're every bit of 300, man. I mean solid muscle, man. I'm not talking, I was like, holy shit, man. It's like, I'm trying to drill, just like show some stuff. I'm like, it's like wrestling, probably, Brock Lesnar. I mean, that's what it felt like. It really did.
I had a few people wanting me to ask you, Charlie, if you could explain what happened with you in Ring of Honor. I guess they've pretty much shut down now.
Yeah,
but I don't know what exactly happened. There's a bunch of various stories out there on the internet.
I know Joe Koff, and I think this is what happened. I was in Ring of Honor when Cornette was there. When he left, they were forcing Sheldon and I out. I like Delirious a lot. He did good he did good. I just think that, they thought outside the box and they produced a lot of Tyler Black and CM Punk and all that. There is going to be hold on. Okay. Tyler Black and he's Rollins, Seth Rollins, and then there was a bunch of a bunch of other guys that made it. And I think, that style WWE adapted to it and they brought it on. And Cornette couldn't believe it, and so it transpired, all over, so they're big in Japan, now they're big at AEW and all the MLW, ROH, whatever. But I think what happened with the COVID-19, I said it's the best time to be a fan. The reason being is because we had to cut our costs somewhere, and a lot of people cut the cable. They cut the cable so we could do, so everyone was doing internet TV. No one thought it was going to take off. I sure as hell did it. But because of that, man, you turn on Pluto, you turn on Pluto and you have so many, you got MLW on there and you have
Impact's on there.
PC Ultra, and you got AAA and Ring of Honor, and you got Impact, and you got, AEW then and WWE. So, you're like, man, this is a great time. I can make a living with these other territories, and then we're working together. It's kind of like the old territories. And then, I can hone my craft. I can be there for a year, there for a year, there for a year. And, in 5 years, man, maybe I get the call from WWF or AEW, But I think at the time, Ring of Honor, they're owned by Sinclair Broadcasting Company, which is a publicly traded company. And they're a $9 billion company. But, one, they didn't really put money into Ring of Honor. Everything that Ring of Honor had was they had to produce at the gate, and that was what paid. And so Joe Koff was like on a shoestring budget. But the advantage of them being there was that their tapings went to all the stations. Now they weren't a cable company. They owned their syndicated TV. So they own all the antennas. Like, it would have been great in the 70s and 80s when, you have the tape and then WC World Class Championship Wrestling would put the tape in Dallas, and then the territory that you wrestled in was as far out as the antenna goes. the waves, the UHF waves or VHF waves. And so, Sinclair didn't think about what was going to happen. So because they're syndicated, they should have probably changed the business plan and said, okay, let's create like a streaming service, like a Crackle, a Pluto, a Plex. And, they did it. And I think that's what, Ring of Honor did the honorable thing. They kept everybody for 18 months and they paid them. And they couldn't wrestle. They couldn't make up the money. And it caught up to them. And I think they fell victim of, being I think you saw the end of syndicated wrestling. I really did. So
what about your time in Ring of Honor?
I thank you for the time. I learned a lot. Man, some great times with the Kings of Wrestling, All Night Express, the Wolves, Davey Richards, Eddie Edwards, Colt Cabana, El Generico, Delirious, Joe Koff, Kerry Sulkin, Cornette. But it was just, it's a shame, man. It really is. I was hoping that someone would come in and buy him, but I guess it's not going to happen.
We had a question earlier. Somebody was asking about Privilege coming to World Class. What's your thoughts on that?
Man, it probably, man, I would love it. I would, because it's unfinished business, man. We haven't even started, man. We are hot. And I mean, Hannibal will tell you, I mean, it was, we had something good. It was diverse. I came up with the concept. I want to get all this cleared up too. I came up with the group. I came to them. I said, I want to do a group, white, black, Hispanic, Polynesian, 4 different cultures. I want us to be, it's always on TV, white on black, black on brown, brown on black, brown on white. Man, no, we're going to be equal, united, and we're equal opportunity ass kickers, man. We don't care who you are, but, we're going to just do what we do. And I wanted to be so stacked that when they saw us come in, they were going to be like, how are we going to, how are they going to beat us? I mean, Jacob Fatu, Max Castellanos, Red Dog, Roddy Mack, and me. I'm like, that's about a hell of a crew. I'll put it up against any faction in any company. I mean, AEW, WWE, I really would. And so, man, it was hot. I'd love for it to work, but we wouldn't use the name Privilege. Teddy Long did come up with that name. He doesn't own the rights to it. He didn't come up with the group. I did. Now he's starting another group called Privilege, and and I'm happy for him. And I think Teddy needs him. He is a pioneer, in what he did and what he had to overcome. But I just didn't see eye to eye on him on a lot of things. He wanted me to do a finish this way, and I'm like, are you really you're a general manager, man? I thought you were a character because on TV, you're telling me to do a finish. Kevin Sullivan tells me to do a finish. I'm gonna listen to Kevin Sullivan, and and Teddy has some great ideas, but but this finish is, that's my cup of tea. I've been doing this for long enough. I think I can listen to the crowd and know what they want, and then when I know they want it, I don't want to give it to them. So
that was always a mystery why they would listen to Teddy in that group over Kevin for booking ideas with Kevin's reputation. But Kevin is a big supporter of yours. Could you tell us a little bit about your relationship with Kevin?
Man, I think Kevin Sullivan is. So I'm a student of wrestling. I was going through my storage unit, after my divorce, and I got so many VHS tapes of pro wrestling, and WWE at the time, they would let us have access to the library, and we'd go to Kevin Dunn and I'd say, man, I need this, this, and this. They'd have it the next TV, and I had.
They would just give you the cassette tapes.
I've had every type of match you can imagine. So I came across Kevin Sullivan's matches in there, and
we can't hear you.
Oh, we lost your audio.
Okay, hello.
There we go. So right when you got the Kevin Sullivan tapes, that's where we lost it.
Come on.
So you would literally request what you wanted from their library and they would give it to you? Oh, no.
I guess you'll sign in and sign back out. But yeah, I remember that, Jerry, because I was in Deep South Wrestling for a while, and the developmental wrestlers could request matches, and before YouTube was what it was, they would have someone that worked in the office that would put like a selection of matches on a VHS tape and send
Wow.
it.
So they would basically make new cassettes for you of what you requested.
What's that?
Hannibal was talking about how they would, if you requested the library, they would make the tapes for you and then give you copies of them.
Yeah.
That's
it was
wild.
like I asked them for. I asked them for like this. I go, can I get small guy versus big guys, giants? Can I get tag teams? Can I get tag teams in Japan? Can I get tag teams in can I get all the territories that were buying up? And I'm like, yeah, just give me whatever. And Kevin Dunn would do it. They would give you copies of it. And man, I have so many VHS tapes. I got to get it all transferred over to the digital era. But I'm going through that. I'm like, man, look at all the stuff I have. I mean, and then so the question was Kevin Sullivan. I came across Kevin Sullivan when he was with WWF before he headed down to Florida, and I mean the crowd loved him, and he was man, and they loved him. And I'm like, man, this guy is and then he disappeared. I'm like, well, where'd he go? Like, when I was young. And then, he's down at Florida Championship Wrestling. I started collecting the magazines when I was little. That was our internet. And I'm like, man, I followed him. And then when he came on with the, I really was intrigued when he was the Taskmaster with the Varsity Club, and that was Dr. Death. They had Mike, what's his name? The guy from Syracuse, Bray Wyatt's dad, Mike Rotundo. And then you had Ricky. It was before Scott Steiner got there. It was Rick Steiner. So you had 3 All-American wrestlers, and they wore their leather jackets and all that. I'm like, yeah, that's awesome, man.
You could have almost been a member of the Varsity Club if you would have been in that era.
Yeah,
you would have been
the Varsity Club, exactly. And he was the man. So I never got a chance to meet him or work with him until SWE. I came up to him. I go, Kevin Sullivan, man, I'm a big fan. I go, I would sit and watch stuff of him on YouTube, and the stuff he would do was outrageous, like stuff you would never see. Like I saw him slap a lady, like a news reporter. I mean, just laid her out. And I asked him about that. He goes, yeah, that was Luna Vachon. And when I got back to the locker room, she's like, could you hit me harder? So I got to ask him a bunch of things that I was like, when I'm watching as a kid, I was scared to death. I was like, oh my God, he's, all the stuff they were saying, but you believed it. So when I came in SWE and I saw I had a chance to work with him, I wasn't going to try to be like him because I never could be. I wanted to have that type of heat that he had. I wanted to do things, push the boundaries, bend it, not break it. Sometimes we probably did. But man, it was, we're putting asses in seats. And he was a big fan of Privilege. He loved it. Kevin's the type where I'm like, Kevin, I got this finished. What do you think? He goes, I don't know. You tell me. I'm like, well, this is what I want to do. He goes, let's try it. If not, we'll do something else. And I'm like, and thank God it worked every time. And then sometimes stuff I was going to do, I knew it was going to be borderline, that it's probably better to ask for forgiveness than permission. So that would
almost every time.
It would turn out great. The ratings are good, but I know Tom Lance is like, how much is this going to cost me, Haas? And I'm like, don't worry about it. It was my kid. I threw up against the ropes. So it was, Kevin Sullivan, man, he's great. He's teaching me how to book. That's why I thank you for this opportunity, because I want to work with him still, because he's the last living link to Eddie Graham. And if people don't know who Eddie Graham is, he is probably one of the best bookers ever. I mean, Kevin would tell me he would sit in with he would sit in there with Mr. Graham. And Mr. Graham would get phone calls from St. Louis. Hey, we got a card tonight. Here's the wrestling. What are the finishes? He would give them the finishes. A check would come in the mail. And then the Carolinas would call. He'd give them the finishes. I mean, Eddie Graham was giving, he was selling the finishes to everybody. So
wow, I did not know
that's where Kevin learned how to book.
In my mind, Kevin is definitely one of the most brilliant minds in wrestling. It never ceases to amaze me. Him and Eric Embry both, and them working together. It's like, I literally just sit there and listen to them plan it out.
And I never even, I never met Eric Embry. I mean, I watched him growing up. I'm really, man. I'm glad I'm back. I'm glad I'm not retired, because these are people that I watched and I get a chance to work with them now and learn from them. So I mean, because after it's over, I want to. Man, I love this sport, man. I do. I've been doing this for a long time. And I got into the amateur wrestling because of it. And I don't want it to end when I leave wrestling. I mean, I want to book, I want to help coach, produce young athletes. People. I mean, I can coach them right, I can teach them right. My style is a little different. I don't beat them down with calisthenics. I don't make them do like 1,000 squats on it. I feel that if you're signed with WWE, or if that's what you want to do, then you should do that on your own. But I will teach you. We'll do cardio and conditioning, but I will teach you how to work, how to wrestle, the basics, the foundation. How to footwork, and a lot of it comes. I bring it over from amateur wrestling. It's working for me because of my two kids. Russ and Chuck are doing phenomenal. They're only 9 and 11, and they're my blueprint. I'm blessed because they're great athletes. But
for those of you that don't know,
I'm excited for the future.
In case you guys would like to see a match with Charlie's sons, you will actually be able to see them wrestle at Christmas Star Wars, December 11th. And you can watch a match they did for Texoma Pro right here on Hannibal's channel. He has that up.
I got to thank Hannibal, too, for pushing us and helping us, man. Thank you, Hannibal.
And the rematch, actually, that I just posted. You may not have seen it, Jerry, but they had a rematch last week, I think, in San Antonio. Yeah. For Dog Pound Championship Wrestling. So what's that like when you're quartering one son against the other? Does that cause problems at home? The way I believe that they should learn at that young age, and the Japanese do this, that you second them to the ring. I'll be the coach for one of them, and then I'll have the top babyface there be the coach for Chuck usually. And they know the moves, and they'll go do something. I'm like, slow down, take your time. All right, get ready. Put impact. I mean, you guys, you got to make it look good. You got to hit. Really take the bump. And so they're learning that way. I was telling Rodney, I go, can you imagine if we were when we were in developmental, if we had Arn Anderson or Fit Finley out there with us while we're wrestling? I go, how much we'd learn, even if they weren't tagging with us, but like managing us and yelling at from the corner, it would have been unbelievable. So we. That's what I think. That's going to help them, and eventually, toward they go. You know what, Dad? We got this, man. We appreciate it, but we can do this on our own. And I think that's what and it's little things. I'm like, oh, Russ, man, grab that hold, grab that abdominal stretch or whatever. And so I got to teach them how to bend the rules when the ref's not looking, because it's not cheating until you get caught. So, the first match I told him to pull the ref, and he kicks him in the nuts. It's
I saw that.
I know. And Carl goes down and he goes, what the fuck do we do? And I go, it's his first match. You got to give him some leniency. And I mean, I was like, I go, no, Russ, you got to pull him, not kick him. So, but he let him continue. They had a great match. That was the only thing. Hannibal's commentary on it was the best, man. Because then he kicks him in the nuts, and he's like, he's going to let it go on, though. I was like,
Hannibal wears many hats. It blows my mind sometimes. He's talented at everything.
Dude, he was killing it. I'm like, I don't know. Do you commentate a lot, Hannibal, or was that the first time you commentated?
No, I don't commentate very much. I leave that up to the professionals.
Yeah,
it's one of the hardest jobs in wrestling.
It's hard to commentate when you're by yourself. Like when Joey Styles, man, he did ECW. He did a hell of a job because you don't have someone to play off of. It's tough. You got to keep it going.
Have you heard about all these releases today, Charlie? Karrion Kross, Taya, Harry Smith, Keith Lee. There's like 20 wrestlers that have been released.
Wait, they just got rid of Harry Smith. They just signed him.
Yeah. Taya Valkyrie, too. Just signed her, too.
All right, so is Shelton still with them or no?
They're still announcing, but I think Sheldon has made it through, thankfully for him.
The only thing I can think of, man, is what's going on is the only thing I can think of is that, all right, so when they released all those big time, all the other guys like Bray Wyatt, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, and they signed Gable Stevenson, and the money's ridiculous out here. It's like 7 years, like in the 20s million. I don't know if that's true, but I mean, it's from what I hear, it is. But man, and so what Vince is doing, he's brilliant at this. He's going after. They signed a couple other college amateur wrestlers too, as well, and they're paying them money, millions, and how he figures he's going to make it up on with them is that this is the first time in NCAA history that the college athlete is allowed to make money off their likeness and their name, and pro wrestling is sports entertainment. It's by government, by the way the business is handed to the government. It's sports entertainment. We're 1099s. We're not professionals, so you can pay a college athlete to be a pro wrestler, and then he can go play a sport, and you're not ineligible because we're sports entertainers. So
you would think eventually
now
they're going to put
he
limits
signed
on the
Gable
NIL.
Stevenson, a kid from Duke, somebody else, and Gable Stevenson's brother, and they are still in college. Vince told Gable, he's like, "You're going back to school. You're going to graduate. You're going to get your degree, and you're going to win another national title." And he's got eligibility left, and he goes, "You won a gold medal, man. It's not over." But this gives Vince the time to flood the market, the NCAA, with Gable Stevenson's bobbleheads, shirts, and all that, because now, because the athletes, they get to make money off their name and their likeness, but they probably have to come out of pocket for it. Now, some of them, like the exceptions for Alabama, like there's a quarterback in Texas, South Lake Carroll. This kid he's signed to go. He's committed to go to Alabama. So, but he is not
I saw that
his,
kid
his senior year here at South Lake Carroll.
Yeah,
because he doesn't want to
that
get
dude
hurt,
is a
because he has a
ridiculous
$1.5 million deal from Nike on the table when he shows up at Alabama.
Yeah, he's a
so,
ridiculous. Thrower.
Vince is like, well, they can get paid. I can recoup my money. I can flood the market with. So, man, I think he's probably going after bigger names, man. And you some more amateur wrestlers. I mean, Kurt
do you
was
think this
successful.
has anything to
Steiners
do?
was successful. Dr. Death, Shelton and I, Brock. And it's great for amateur wrestling because now they have something like they don't have to go to UFC. They're like, man, I can be a fan. I can be a pro wrestler and make money. Because usually it's after the Olympics. It's you're looking for a coaching job.
Do you think this has anything to do with WWE going back towards bigger wrestlers?
Yeah, I think definitely WWE was watching SWE at the time, and they saw that I was calling most of it in the ring, and that man, it's snug and I'm telling a story. And I think they're like, man, we should probably go back to doing that. Charlie Haas is killing it down there, but instead of bringing me up, they just they'll hire other kids, and they their whole motto is they said that they're going to hire people that have no wrestling experience, pro wrestling experience, or sports entertainment experience, and they just want them to be great athletes, and they're going to teach them how to wrestle. They're going to teach them, I guess basically, how Shelton and I learned, and that's what they want. And then they're going to all right, man, because back in the day when you first started, back before there was schools, your first wrestling lesson was your first match in the ring. Once they got you in, you'd wrestle like a Skandar Akbar, somebody that's coming down that was on top, and they'll work with you. And they're like, all right, man, just listen, kid. Don't say a word. Grab a headlock, punch him in the face, and just sit there and sell. Come back and get you. And that's how they would learn. And they would learn like that. And it was hands-on training. And I think that's what they want to get to now. So, because if you do that, you slow it down. There's not a lot of car crashes, as I call it. But, man, people believe. And I'm telling you, I know because it's working for me. Now I'll go up to Sherman and wrestle in front of 60 people. I got people wanting to come over the rails. I mean, it's like therapy for me. It really is after the divorce. But but to be able to get that type of heat, it feels like the old days of WTBS or the Superstation. I mean, you had the Four Horsemen just riding 60 people in the studio, but yet they're putting asses in seats, 12,000 in the Omni. We're up in Johnson City, Tennessee. We're down in Richmond, Virginia. We're at the Scope in Norfolk, Virginia. I mean, they're putting asses in seats just because they could talk and they believe what they were doing. So I think that's what WWE wants to go back to.
And Charlie was talking about wrestling in Sherman. For those of you that don't know, he's talking about Texoma Pro Wrestling, and I think they have shows every month on the third Friday.
Yeah, they do shows twice a month up there at Texoma. Robert Langdon, yes, sir.
Yeah, so if you guys are looking for wrestling in Sherman, Texoma Pro is the place to go.
Yep, they're up there, and it's a small venue, but the crowd they're diehards. They really do hate me, which is great.
You're doing your job.
Here's the deal. It's like I'm reventing what's old is new. I don't sign autographs. I'm not going to. I just think that there's a time and place for it, and I don't want to be out there. Oh my God, thank you. Yeah, thanks for booing me. I love you, man. Let me kiss the babies, and then going out and telling them to f off. I mean, it's not. It doesn't make sense. It's
Amen. It makes no sense.
And it's like, man, it's I ever since I've done that, I have more people wanting my autograph than I did when I was signing it. So I tell them no, and they up the price. I'm like, okay.
I would say you're a master of psychology. What do you think of the psychology in WWE and AEW right now? Do you see them as the same in each company, or do you see them as two different products?
I see them very similar, and I think WWE wants to get away from that. And I think that's they're making the changes. Now Vince is, he's had a lot of ventures outside WWE, and they have not panned out for him. But WWE, everything he's invested in wrestling works. I think he is onto this with he started his own streaming service and sold it for $4 billion to NBC, Peacock, and I think he has he is just he's brilliant for it. I mean, he's third generation, and he is. I think they see that they're the same, and I think he sees it like, well, they don't want another Monday Night War, although they would probably, the fans would want it, but the fans are so smart to the business now, and I think he wants a different style. I mean, sometimes I remember when Vince was the only one around, JBL would sit there and he's like, you know what wrestling has to do? Go away. He goes, it needs to go away like it did in the 50s and 60s and come back in the 70s and 80s. He goes, it's got to rest. They've killed it, but I think, you're seeing different styles now. I think that he wants to slow it down. I think he wants to tell the story. I think he wants to get people that are in there that make you, that know that it's real. I mean, for instance, when I'm driving home, I'll ask my kids, I'm like, hey man, what did you guys think? They're like, man, you did great, Dad. I go, my punches and kicks look good. Yeah. I go, what about everybody else on the roster? Dad, their stuff looks like shit. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah. He goes, Dad, Chuck goes, Dad, is wrestling real? I go, yeah. I go, I've been hurt more in pro wrestling than amateur. He goes, well, how come I can punch better than most of those guys? I go, that's a good question, Chuck. We'll ask the promoter when we see him. So, I mean, when that's what you need to listen to is the 10-year-olds, the 8 to 15
because they should be the ones
they don't believe
into what's going
on.
on.
They don't believe, we're not going to believe.
Exactly. What do you think of the state of tag team wrestling?
It's thank you, because I'm going to open up my school and I'm going to specialize in tag team wrestling. It's what I'm good at. Arn Anderson put a stamp of approval on us. I learned from him. Man, here's the problem with tag team wrestling. Because at one time they were main eventing everything. Hell, the Crockett Cup was huge. There was main events at WrestleMania for the tag team. So, we need to go back to, and I wish Arn, would take this over in AEW and pass it on. But no, he's into the whole singles thing, and his son's wrestling now. And but the heels need to be heels. The heels need to quit worrying about outshining the baby faces and doing double team moves that look better than the baby faces. The best. All right, what's the Hannibal, Mr. Bostic? Who are the best tag teams you can imagine? Who would you say the best tag teams ever were? Like whether face or heel?
Well, the Road Warriors have to be up there.
I say the Steiners.
There you go. You have to say the Steiners. Yeah, Steiners, Road Warriors. There are a lot of people that like Midnight Express and Rock and Roll Express from the South.
I think the Hart.
I say Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard.
Yeah, the Brain Busters.
So when I tell people, I'm like, they're one of the best tag teams ever, and I go, but can you name one double team move they ever did that you can see? I can't name one. No. But what they can do is they worked the body part and rendered it useless. They were masters at it, in and out of the ring, tearing somebody down, breaking. The psychology. Arn would tell me, he's like, man, we would get him going. Then we hear the crowd, we cut him off. Get him going, cut him off. He goes, don't ever, man. He goes, give them what they want. He goes, and when you finally feel it, then it's time. And he goes, you don't need to. He goes, you guys are wrestlers. Everyone knows you were the world's greatest tag team. Don't wrestle. We're colds. He's like, they're going to be like, oh, you guys keep saying it, but you don't do it. It's like, and that's the psychology, and that's the beauty of being a heel tag team. It's hard. It's definitely harder than singles. Not that it's harder. It's a different psychology. No one is cutting off the ring. No one is shooting their opponent away. Every time I see the heels, they'll shoot their opponent towards the opponent's
right to the corner. Right to the corner.
I was always taught to shoot back into the two ropes by in your corner. Cut the ring off. You do not let him cross that ring, that middle of the ring, and then plus you have to make it work from underneath. You got to make them work from underneath. If you just like put a hold on and do hope spots, they're never going to believe it, man. They got to. Like Arn used to tell me, he's like, you got to give the guy a set of nuts before you beat him, because if you didn't beat him, if you don't do that, then they're gonna be like, who'd you beat? Nobody. You got to make them in the beginning. So, and that's what everyone's so worried about getting their shit over, and it's a lost art. And I thought maybe AEW would bring it back, but they're not. So, I'm going to open the school. I'm going to have tag teams that that want to be tag teams. Man, I'm going to work with them, and I'm going to make them what Arn did with us, and I'm going to produce some good tag teams, and hopefully that maybe will change. I don't know. We'll see. We just need one company to believe in it, and that company to go with it. At one time Ring of Honor had great tag teams. ECW had great tag teams. WCW, WWF, they've gotten away from it.
Absolutely. So, say you and Shelton do get back together one more time.
Yeah.
Or say that you had one fantasy match. Who would it be?
Oh man.
Would it be the Brainbusters? Would that be the match you would want out of everybody? We'll say then and now. One team then and one team now.
What's that?
We'll say one team from back then and one team now.
That's what Arn and Fit told me, that Shelton and I were born like 10 to 12 years too late. 15 years too late. I would love to work Arn and Tully. I would love to work, or Arn and Ollie. I would love to work them. I just watch it. It's like, it's Shakespeare, and what was awesome is they would go wrestle 20 minutes, then they'd cut a promo right out of the ring. And it was like not even breathing heavy. And they were just like, hey, we just beat them. You know what? After we eat Thanksgiving dinner, Midnight Express, we're coming after you. That people don't understand is like the Midnight Express, when they turned against the Four Horsemen, that was a huge deal. And it built up for it. And then I asked Arnie, what happened? He goes, we were in Baltimore. Dusty was booking, and we told Dusty, we're done. And he's like, wait, you can't be done. We got midnight tonight. It's like, nope. You had your wish. You want us out of here, we're gone. And they walked out. They never had that match. Arn says that's one of his biggest regrets of his career. He wish he did that match.
Wow. So what about one team now? Any current tag team? Who would it be?
Man. I guess I get the Usos to be. They've held it so many times, or Sheamus and Cesaro. It's hard to invest in a tag team because they take them and they split them up. Take them and split them up. Usos have been around together, so I remember when they were just Rikishi sent them down to live with Eki, and Shelton and I would drive them down to Booker T's and we'd work with them. When they were just starting. So, I would have loved to work Edge and Christian. I would have loved to work New Age Outlaws. Would have loved to, just because of the interaction with the crowd. I would have loved to have worked Pat Patterson and Ray Stevens. They say they were the best tag team ever. So,
I love Pat Patterson, man. Pat Patterson is one of the most intelligent wrestling people of all time in my books. Yeah. I got to sit with him one night and just listen. I just sit there and listen to everything he said, and I was like, damn, this guy, he's a different level for sure.
Yeah, he is. He's the best finished guy in the business. Johnny Ace says, he is, and Pat was the best one, and because I never worked with Kevin yet. And then I'm like, I had two different styles with Pat Patterson showing me how he books and all that, like that French Canadian, and like in being with Vince and Vince Senior, and everything they came up with, and then you have Kevin and his ideas. I'm like, dude, this is, why not finish like this? I was able to be around some of the greatest wrestlers, mentors that possibly. Steve Curtin was great, man. He taught me one thing. He goes, Charlie, you tell the story with your eyes. He goes, how many people are trying to make facials and it looks bad? It was like old people having sex. It's terrible. And he goes, tell the stories with your eyes and let the face form around the eyes. If you do that, he goes, it will. He goes, it makes it so much easier. That's what I try to do. Little things like that. And Steamboat had a lot of things. But man, Kevin, when it comes to booking, man, he has same philosophy. He books backwards. He wants to have, this is where we're going. This is where we're going to have our wrestlers in place, our WrestleMania, whatever you want to call it, and we're going to book backwards to get there. A lot of people don't do that. They book week to week. So.
Yeah, we found that. I mean, it's hard to do on the indie level, on the independent level, it's hard to book backwards. But, I think whenever you have a strong enough base, you can book that backwards, and the people that are going to be there. And
You're right.
I think
Well,
that's one of our
and the
goals
thing
going
is you
forward.
got to get your group to believe that they're not an independent. That we are a force to be reckoned with. Then you got to get them to believe in, like, hey, if you're going to go wrestle for somebody else, which I'm not going to deny you money, you got to tell them that this is who you're with. And they got to brand it. They got to publish it. And in doing so, we'll help market. We'll say it on internet TV or whatever, help push their taping or their show. I think that once you get them believing in the company, then they'll start treating it like something and not like. And Hannibal and I, we saw that. I mean, SWE had a swing, man. It was like we thought we were on our way up. I mean, it felt real. It felt good. Like we were doing something. And it just like that, it was gone. But I mean, and it's probably I don't know. I mean, I was the champ. Probably I don't know. But it's probably not me. But anyways, I think that that it was up and coming. We had a great. We had some wheels, man. We had some gas in the tank, and that's why I think it'd be good if we could bring this group over to your place. I think we have a lot of unfinished business, and I just want to work with Kevin, and I'm going to finish things with Max and Jacob and Rodney.
Yeah, I look forward to that. Really, I agree with you. I think there is unfinished business, and I think it's sad the abrupt end of SWE. I think that you guys really did accomplish a lot of stuff, and I think Tom, Jason, that group, you guys did a lot of good, a lot of good. It was a great time to be on the rise when you guys were, during COVID. You guys took that period, ran with it, built something really special out of it. And sometimes, a company just grows too fast, and that's it. To me, that's it. And I've been there
could be. I mean, because I think I'll be honest, man, what hurt us was when Hannibal and them split. And then, I mean, it's not because I'm on here, but that hurt, man. He's got a hell of a following, and it helped us a lot. That was the first step that started going downhill. And I'll be honest, and I'm not blowing smoke up his ass. This is the truth. You look at the numbers.
Yeah, his numbers speak for itself. Whenever he first started working with us, we had, I think, 2,500 subscribers on YouTube. We're up to 8,000 now, and that's Hannibal's work. And I always believe you got to surround yourself with people that are better than you.
Well, yeah,
especially
social media is the way you're going to market this thing, and you got to find someone that believes in your product, and that's going to help. I mean, because I know I'll send my matches to Hannibal, and I'm not asking him to put them on. I'm just like, tell me what you think, man. Seriously, what you think? You've been around wrestling, and man, he's like, let me put them on. I'm like, if you think they're worthy, yeah. I mean, so he's not going to put something on or back something if he doesn't believe in it. And it's got to be legit, and it's got to have have legs, and it's got to be able to up and coming. You don't want to go backwards, and I think that's where a lot of people don't understand the hard work they have to put in. So.
Yeah, it's unfortunate what happened there, but at least we're picking up where things left off. And Southern Junction, December 11th, is going to be your first appearance. Jerry, do we know who Charlie's wrestling yet?
We do, in fact. Charlie, you will be working MLW star Gino Medina, which is Gino Medina from MLW. He's one of Booker's students. Excellent worker.
Oh, I'm telling you.
I said he's an excellent worker. He's one of Booker T's students.
Okay.
Great guy.
Yeah,
great
I mean, dude, Booker, I have utmost respect for him. He is, when I got let go the first time I went down there, and he polished me up. I mean, love Booker T. I love his man. He's got a great. He's reality of wrestling's kicking ass, man, and he homegrown it. He did it himself. I was his first match of Reality of Wrestling. We were the first main event. It was Charlie Haas versus Booker T, and it grew from there. So.
Oh wow, yeah, I did not know that. Yeah, Booker's doing a lot of great things. They're even expanding into Las Vegas. And from what I hear, Booker's a great guy. So nothing but
he's
congrats on his success.
Just utmost love and respect for him, man. Utmost, he's got a son that's like around my kid's age. So you're probably seeing a little Booker T running around there soon.
That's great. That's great. We had a guest watching, Al, who wanted to know who was the greatest in-ring storyteller that you worked with.
I'll tell you, man. I'll tell you who's really good. Shawn Michaels is excellent. Ric Flair. I mean, I was able to be in there. But I'll tell you who I've had fun the most with, and fucking Carlito.
I love Carlito.
I mean, him and I'll sit there and I'm like, he's like, what do you want to do? I go, let's just Shakespeare. He goes, you serious? I go, yeah. I mean, dude, we go out there and we have no idea. Like Fred Urban was like, before he passed away, he's like, whoever you guys want over, go ahead. I don't care. I go, it's like, he's like, just whatever. He's like, all right, man, let's just feel it out in the ring. He goes, if you think that's where we should end it, just, whatever. If you think I should, whatever. But that's when you're having fun, man. I mean, it was awesome, man. And Carlito's he's really good at that. Really good. Rene Dupree too. Excellent, man. I love when I first met him, he's just an old school guy. I mean, his dad had the territory. I wish he can get back in the United States soon because he is fun to work. He's good. He's great.
Hannibal, didn't you just work Rene Dupree like a month ago or so?
He worked for me. Yeah, he's quite a guy. He still works for Pro Wrestling Noah. He has a contract with them now, so he's in good shape. And he just needs to wait for the border to open where they allow foreigners back to Japan, which is supposed to be in about a month or so.
Did you guys actually?
Right after Russ died, he became my roommate down at HWA. He is, dude. I got to know him, and he was like, I think the youngest kid they ever signed. I mean, just great shape, bodybuilder. But I mean, what a worker, man! Fucking what a worker.
Yeah, he's still in fantastic shape. Did you guys actually work him and Rob Conway?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a hell of a crew that came out of that OEW class. I mean, Renee, Rob, me, Shelton, Randy, Cena, Brock.
That's a hell of a class.
I mean, Densmore, Bashams, I mean, it was a hell of a crew.
They almost need a class like that now to come up and, be what you guys were back then. They really.
I mean, you got to think we survived all the WCW and ECW guys. We made the cut. They let them all go, and we were still there. Like, so it says a lot, man. And we produced afterwards. Man, it was like I remember working with Randy. Okay, so I've never got the chance to work in the ring with Randy. That would be I would love to work him. I want to work him, especially now where I try to emulate him. I watch him. I tell him everyone, I go, you want to be a good heel, your timing, you watch Randy Orton. Watch his timing. Watch the way he stalks the person.
He's gotten so good.
And he is. So that's where I've learned to slow it down. And like my work's different than his. My body is a lot different. But I will, after I do what I do, I'll take time to appreciate it, and I'll just stalk him like Randy does. I try to do it my own way, but I stick to that type of psychology. Because I was talking to him about it, and he's like, Charlie, he saw the kids, and he's like, keep doing what they're doing. He goes, because I was the same way. He goes, and then he goes, remember when we were up at OVW, and he was like 19, 20, he goes, it just clicked, man. It was like, he was in the ring, we're like, Randy, Jim Cornette goes, where the hell is that, man? Who is that? It's like, he got the timing, he got everything down, man. It was different. And, man, he went right up to TV.
So who was your favorite person to work with and then work against?
Oh, OVW?
Just in general. Of all time, who's the favorite person you've worked with and worked against?
Randy Orton. I've worked Bryan Danielson enough, but I'm going to work Randy Orton.
But who have you already worked? Out of the people you've already worked, who's your favorite to work with and your favorite to work against?
Right now, Davey Richards was great. I love working him. Bryan Danielson and Spanky were really good. Man, if I could go back, I would love to wrestle Kurt Angle one more time.
What's your relationship with Kurt like?
The heel that I am now. Because, I was watching the matches that we had, and they were good, but I was missing that moment with the crowd, like that. I'm better than Kurt, and that's what I wish I could go back and do that with him.
What's your relationship with Kurt like now?
I talked to him the other day, man. He texts me and he goes, "Hey, man, I love watching your sons." He goes, "That's so awesome, man." He goes, just don't burn them out." I'm like, thing is, I'm not burning the kids out on pro wrestling at all. Like, they want to do it all the time. I tell them when that's a punishment, I take it away. I'm like, no, you guys are fighting. You're not going to go to practice. No pro wrestling practice. And so, man, and I just let other people coach them. I mean, I give them the psychology and I'll teach them the chain wrestling and all that, but then I let them be them. And they just go in the ring, and with that, it's hands on, man. And they have fun. So
You'd love to work Kurt one more time, huh?
yeah, I want Kurt one more time. I want Kurt, and I never worked John Moxley. I'd love to work him. I know my hat goes off to him what he's doing. I wish him well. Been down that road, so I would love to work. I would love to work Moxley, man. I really would. It's somebody, and you know what, Jericho, you call yourself the greatest of all time. For 10 years, we're in the same federation, the entertainment, WWE together. And never once did we work each other. We weren't even in the ring together. So you can't call yourself the greatest of all time when I'm the real champion. I'm the one that can actually wrestle. So I want to wrestle Jericho. I'm calling him out.
There you go, Chris Jericho.
Wait a second, Charlie.
Give me a chance, Jericho. What?
Do your call out message to Jericho. I'm just going to put you on the screen, and I'll cut that and send it to him.
Dude, we're living in the era of no matter how old we get better. You are unbelievable, man. You're up there like Tom Brady. I try to model myself after you, but Jericho, you call yourself the greatest of all time, the GOAT. How dare you, man? How dare you call yourself when you haven't even been in the ring with me? 10 years of WWE together. We broke bread together. Remember the beach in Hawaii? We toasted my brother. We were talking about it. Family, right? But you never been in the ring with me. We never ever wrestled. So you can't call yourself the greatest of all time when I'm the greatest real world champion right now. I mean, I'm actually the only one that can actually wrestle. So, man, Jericho, calling you out. I don't care where it is. I'll drive myself. Whatever. I want a piece of you, man. I want the greatest of all time. I want that moniker. So I hope you hear this.
Well, we'll send that to him, and we'll see what he has to say.
All right.
You know, you're in better shape than Juventud is, and he recently gave Juventud a match.
What's that?
Juventud Guerrera. You're in a lot better shape than Juventud, and he recently gave Juventud a match in AEW.
Oh, how did he go?
He beat him, of course.
Okay.
So maybe he's taking the easy route.
All right.
But I'd like to see that.
I don't know, man. I think I love it that he's still doing the 1980s. He's still doing the rock and roll, man. He wants to be a rock star. He just got off the cruise, the what do you call it? The Jericho cruise or whatever they call it.
Now you have a T-shirt store now, Charlie. Where can people buy your merchandise?
So we were, man, Near Fall Clothing. They're the ones that they're making all my gear. We will have I started my own podcast, and it's gonna be different. I'm bringing amateur wrestling and pro wrestling. 1 week's pro wrestling, next week's amateur wrestling. And I'm going to bring the worlds together. I'm going to have, sometimes I'll have like Kel Sanderson on with Kurt Angle, or John Smith on with maybe if I can get on with Arn Anderson. But I mean, I have connections in both, and I want to cover all aspects of wrestling. So it's at the Haas Pod, or Wrestling's Greatest Podcast. Then also you'll see I'm on Twitter at Charlie Haas, and Cameo, Instagram. Real Charlie Haas, Facebook, Real Charlie Haas, and it's Near Fall Clothing. And that's going to be on my website. So if you want, just go to my website, and we'll have the clothing ready in about a week or so, the T-shirts, and then you can just click on there, and it'll go right to the virtual store. They'll get it for you and ship it to you. So I'm trying to take myself, the middleman, out of it. So that's it.
So out of all the championships,
and also, man, I'm going to be wrestling for Mr. Bostic, man. So that we're agreed on the dates. So I'm going to come out, and I'm just going to do the best I can, and I'm going to continue what I do. And I'm just going to, I'm going to make people hate me.
So out of all the championships that you've held, which one is most special to you?
Man, I'll be honest with you, man. And winning the WWE tag title was great. It was unbelievable. I think the last there's three titles really. The last title that my brother and I had, the Mid-South tag team titles, we held those. Actually, that's all we did. We won them, and then the guy that owned them let us take pictures with him. And then he took them from us. So we only got to hold them once. I got pictures of them. But man, we were a Mid-South Tag Team Championship, and people don't know their history. That was a very prestigious title for tag team wrestling.
Absolutely.
Then Shelton and I went to the WWE, and man, it's I don't know. I this last run with the SWE, I mean, we were running really good. I mean, that's Cannibal, and then it was I felt like, man, I was part of something. We had something good. We had top guys like mentors in there, Kevin Sullivan. We were going in the right direction. I mean, I felt like, man, we were really right there, being better than Ring of Honor, being right there at Impact and AEW. I mean, man, we had a good crew, and I had a really good faction, and that title really meant something to me, man. So I really felt like it was a world title.
Well, the world class title is actually, I don't know if it's vacant or not. Stephan Bonner is holding it right now, but he has a really bad injury. That would be a good match for the future.
That would be a really good match.
Oh, who's that?
Stephan Bonner, the UFC Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Who's he what title is that?
He's our champion, but he's actually injured at the moment. Yeah,
the guy from the UFC?
That would be an amazing match.
Is that the guy from the UFC, Bonner?
Yes.
Okay, great, man. He does pro wrestling? Oh, good.
Yeah, he's actually injured at the moment. So, yeah, I mean, there's always the Texas Heavyweight Championship held by the Blood Hunter.
Yeah, I know, man. Yeah, there is. Or, I mean, you know what? I'm at the point where, man, I mean, I just want to leave my legacy. I just want to be like, maybe I don't need a title. I think I can just get in and I don't need a title for people to know who I am. I'm just going to be me. And, man, I think, let the young kids, let the younger guys get a hold of that and run with it. I'll help direct it or whatever. I'll help, start the feud off. But, man, I mean, maybe, and I'm never going to wrestle like him, but maybe I can be like another Terry Funk. I don't know.
I gotta ask you one question before we wrap this up. I've had my ups and downs with her. I still consider her a friend, but what are your thoughts on Lacey Von Erich?
You know what, man? Her family they did a lot for Texas wrestling. I really wish we could just have that feud. She was a good sport, so she let me do a fireball on her. We painted her. We were building for Ross and Marshall, and it didn't work. It didn't even feel right that night. But I think she meant well. I don't think she knew what she was getting into. I think that if you're going to take over a company like this, you really need to look at the books. You got to see what's going on. I don't know if she did that. I don't know if she lost money. I know the people that they got bought out, they made their money back, and so I don't know. I just I think she had a good thing with the kids camp, and I was helping her with that. I was helping coach the little kids, and that's what I love to do. So it was a good way to build up another generation of wrestlers. We had a good fan base, but I just think that I think we could have had her just focus on marketing and promotion work, and then just let Kevin and them do the wrestling stuff. I think it would have worked out, but you live and learn.
I think you're 100% right on that. I think that, I think she probably caught a bad rap over the whole thing, but I think her heart was in the right place and she just did not know what she was getting into. And it's that simple.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot for joining us, Charlie. You actually went half an hour over the planned time, but we had great fan reaction to you and looking forward to seeing you again December 11th at Southern Junction.
Thanks again, guys. I appreciate it. And man, we get ready to tear this up, man.